It is 6:30. I'm calling the regular council meeting to order for Wednesday, November 6, 2024. Ms. Monroe, would you like to call the roll?
Mayor Don Barnard.
Here.
Tiffany Hollis.
Yes.
Ryan Green.
Here.
Dave Seelan.
Here.
Jeff Barr.
Present.
Wes Coble. Here. Al Orsini.
Here. If we could have Pastor Shaner, if he could lead us in the prayer from Shepherd Church. Stand.
Let's pray. Gracious God, we thank you once again for this day that you've given us, and God, we've gathered here tonight to discuss, to put forth the things of this town here, and God, we pray as the things are discussed that you would lead these leaders with your wisdom, God, and we're grateful for the example of what that looks like through your Son Jesus, of what it means to be a leader, God, that the first will be last and the last will be first. God, what you're saying is true leaders are servants, God. So remind us of that as the things are discussed, as each one that's present here tonight, God. Would you lead us? Would you lead us and be present here at this meeting tonight, God? And we're just grateful once again for the blessings that you pour out upon each one of us each and every day, God. We love you and we pray all these things together in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Please remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you and welcome, everybody. We're going to go ahead and get started with our agenda. The first item is approval of agenda. We've all received the agenda from Ms. Monroe. Does anyone have any alterations or additions or deletions to it? Hearing none, what is the will of council?
Make motion to approve the agenda as written.
A second.
All in favor of approval?
Aye. Okay. We have a whole bunch of minutes. Someone's been busy these last week and a
I
half.
can catch up.
For that fifth week, she was able to catch up.
Right?
So we have minutes for September 17th, September 26th, which was a special council meeting, October 1st, October 15th, October 17th, 2024. Hope you've all had a chance to review these. Does anyone have any changes they would like to make to any of these minutes? Anything they'd like to delete?
If you do them in bulk, I'd need to abstain because one day I was absent.
You were absent the October 17th meeting. We could do the others in block and then do a roll call for the October 17th.
Sure show.
Okay. Does anyone make a motion?
Make motion to approve the minutes for September 17th, September 26th, October 1st, and October 15th in block.
I'll second.
Okay. Are all in favor?
Aye. Okay.
Make motion to approve the minutes for October 17th.
I'll second that as well.
Dave Seelan.
Yes.
Ryan Green.
Yes.
Tiffany Hollis.
Yes.
Mayor Barnard.
Yes.
Wes Coble.
Yes.
Jeff Barr.
Abstain. Abstain.
Al Orsini.
Okay. Our correspondence tonight, we received notice of legislation of authority. This is for posties, correct?
Yes.
If you want to explain this to council?
Yes. They are requesting a transfer. They're under new ownership. This was postmarked apparently in July, but they just emailed it to me and said they never got their certified thing back, which I never received. So it's a little delayed, but it's coming to you to see if there are any issues or you might request a hearing or oppose the transfer.
Does anyone want to request a hearing or oppose the transfer? Chief?
No reason to need to. It's a business operating that's been there for years. It's just changing ownership.
Any council members? Hearing none? We can move forward, Ms. Monroe.
I will notify them. Thank you.
Okay. Moving to citizens' comments on matters not on the agenda. Do we have any notes tonight?
Yes. Two. We have Marvin Block.
Thank you, gentlemen, for taking the time, ladies, to talk, hear me out. When watching some of the YouTube things, I've observed several things of bullying on there. I was accused of that when I was on council, and I was asked to resign because I asked for somebody's address by your mayor, and I come to ask him to resign tonight because of the bullying and stuff that he's been doing in your council meetings. Number two, we haven't seen an audit for 4 years. Number three, we don't come to the meetings that much because of so many executive sessions. And Sean did answer my questions, except the $400,000 that's spent on the JAG. And you talk about the tight budget. Are we still spending $12,000 a month on a lobbyist? $144,000 a year? That's my questions. Thank you.
Mr. Stainer, if you can get him answers.
Yeah, I can follow up with you, Marvin. I know we had a verbal conversation that night specifically about JAG, but I'll put that in a memo, as I did with the other piece of the question that you did, and get that over to you.
Thank you.
You bet.
Ms. Monroe, who else?
Elizabeth Margolis.
All right. Good evening, councilwomen, councilmen of Johnstown. My name is Elizabeth. I am here on behalf of the Johnstown Deserves Better Committee. United we stand and divided we fall. This was the theme for Johnstown's tax reform issue that was on the ballot this past Tuesday. Johnstown Deserves Better is a citizen-led group that consisted of 10 wonderful volunteers who worked tirelessly since July to inform the citizens of Johnstown about a multitude of issues facing our city, as well as informing them of Ohio's complex taxing jurisdictions. As the weeks went on, we met amazing citizens all across Johnstown and engaged with one another in a healthy and civil manner. But one thing became abundantly clear. As we proceeded into our campaign, some members of our own city council were privately working behind the scenes to undermine our efforts. From gossip to misinformation, threatening retaliation against volunteers, and using other citizens to fight on their behalf, it was a losing battle for Johnstown Deserves Better and its supporters. For the citizens of Johnstown, your voice and your vote was heard yesterday, loud and clear. The defeat of the tax reform, though, does not change the needs for Johnstown. Our growing community will need more police, still, better infrastructure, and a parks and rec system. We encourage citizens to get involved in solving these issues, and we expect more collaboration and unity from all 7 council members in order to meet our needs and execute solutions. Thank you to everyone who supported the efforts. I want to personally thank the Johnstown Deserves Better team for all their hard work and dedication the last 16 weeks. I encourage all citizens across Johnstown to get more involved in their local government and hold our officials accountable at the city, township, county, and state level. Thank you for your time.
Is there anyone else, Ms. Monroe?
I have no other speaker slips. No.
Anyone else like to speak tonight? Okay, hearing none, we'll move to council committee reports. Planning and zoning met on October 22nd. Their next meeting is November 12th at 6:30 in the council chambers. Is there anything to report from that last meeting?
We had a brief public hearing on a potential change to our light manufacturing district. We may have further conversation on that. We'll see.
Okay. Design Review Board met the same night. Their next meeting is on the 12th of November at 5:30. Ms. Monroe, was there anything to report from that meeting?
They just saw one short application that had been tabled on a pool demolition that they were filling in, and it was approved. So.
Finance met tonight. Our next meeting is the 19th at 5 p.m. in council chambers. We are making one recommendation to council. It will be a resolution next week, so there's nothing to take place tonight. The recommendation is the refuse contract with Local Waste Services. We asked them for a 5-year contract. They agreed to a 5-year contract with the stipulation the first 3 years would be a 10% increase for the 3 years total, and then the last 2 years would be a 5% increase, so there'd be a 15% increase over 5 years or 3% increase per year over 5 years. But we'd have a locked-in rate for the 5 years at a 15% increase overall. Finance is making that recommendation to council, and it will be in a resolution unless one of you guys do not want us to move forward with that and want us to shop it more.
Mayor, just for clarity, that's 3% a year every year, right? It's not like 5% the first year and then it goes to something else. I just want to be clear on what it is per year, so we have a full understanding.
The proposed rate for 2025 through 2027 is 1878, and then the proposed rate for 28 through 29 would be 1972 a month.
So it gets hit over not each year,
Right, it'd be
Front end.
hitting
it's on the front end.
front end of each of the 2 periods. Currently, our rate is 1707. Again, it would go to 1878, then 1972, and that would be through December 31st, 2029.
So it's going to be 2 hits.
Yes, over 5 years.
Do you remember what the township's contract is?
It was more than
more
ours,
than that?
and this proposal, if memory serves correct, is that in the end, it's still less than what theirs
What the
is
Monroe
currently.
Township is?
And they didn't get recycling, I believe.
They did get recycling.
Did they get
had to
recycling?
like add it as a.
Okay.
It's also a different route, you know, I mean, there's a lot more miles in the township than there is.
Yeah, I just wondered if we partnered, if it would change anything, but I don't know that it would.
Did you have something? Okay. Okay, so anyone wanted, we good with Teresa preparing a resolution, bring to council next time? Okay.
Yep.
Okay, Ms. Monroe. Safety and Service, they did not meet tonight. Their next meeting is December 3rd at 5:45 in council chambers.
We do have one thing for that, so, correct, we did agree to waive the meeting tonight to yield time to more conversation on the budget. We have a couple emails that'll be coming out on issues that we had. Jack had one other thing that he wanted us to discuss, so I wanted to give him some time to ask us a question.
Okay, then, again, I'll be very brief. After we discussed the truck for the street department, Dave and I talked for a little bit, if there was the second truck for the sewer department was available. And yes, there is a truck on lot that is available to replace the older truck at the sewer department. And Dave said he could probably work with the financing, since we already had it in the 2024 budget to look at, but there is one problem with that truck. It is white. It's not red. They were going to, and of course the city trucks are all red. Now, we would still have the same decal and everything on the side of it. And the government concession, which we get because we're a government, is $1,300, because they want to move this 2024, it's going to be 2025. They said they would give us the $3,000 reduction in the price on that. So instead of in 2025 paying $63,315, we could get that truck now for $59,100. Dave said he could talk to them about financing and maybe package to get a better deal. But I do want to let you know that that truck is white if they have it on the lot. Now, the 550 is red and matches the other truck, so I wanted to see if that white made a difference to you as council members versus, you know, saving them more money, since we particularly already had the funding in the budget in 2024.
Does anybody have a problem with being white?
Nope.
Is it egg? No, I'm just kidding.
Is it eggshell or pearl?
Well, a few years ago, there was Sean may remember this, I think maybe back when he was mayor, there was a conversation about changing a color. And
All things being equal, let's keep them all the same. But for $6,000, white looks good.
white looks good to me as well.
Okay.
Thank you, that's all I had.
Okay, anything else, Ron?
That's it.
Okay. Moving to director reports, the service departments, water, sewer, streets, and service director all gave their reports. Does anyone have any questions on water, sewer, or street at this time? Okay, hearing none. Jack, would you like to go over your report?
Yes, I will, again, be very brief on this. I'm going to hit the highlights. Item number 1, water plant update. On October 9th, met with the CMAR, went through the plant again as that project is building steam, and we're getting closer to making a move on upgrading the water plant. We also met with Jacobs Engineering Team on October 21st.
I'm sorry, Jack. On the control system, like, that's just all your feeders and stuff. That, you're not referring to a building automation system, right?
You're correct.
Okay. Please go ahead. Sorry for the
Yeah,
interruption.
nope, that's fine. We just, again, whenever the layout of the plant, where things were gonna fit and where chemical storage would be. I'm gonna jump down to item number 2, which is the wastewater plant update. As many of you know, we had an EPA meeting to discuss the new permit for the Johnstown wastewater plant on October 22nd. And I've heard no feedback from that meeting at this time, negative or positive from the EPA. Item number 5, the wastewater plant received a $5,000 grant for some safety equipment. It was a tripod to lower men in and out of confined spaces safely. So I want to let you know we got that grant. Jumping over to item number 7, the high service pump that was out for repair has been reinstalled, and we are back to 100% pumping capability at the water plant. And item number 8, the leak detection equipment has been moved over to the Kaiser Run development. I'm just keeping you up to date on that because it has paid for itself a couple times over at this point. Any questions on any of those items or any of them that I did not bring up? Yes, sir.
Does the city policy or anything allow you to rent or lease or borrow that piece of equipment out to other?
We absolutely could. I don't think we rent or lease, but we have shared equipment in times of need with other communities. So rent or lease, I don't know that we get into that, but we would share with another community that needed assistance.
I only bring it up because you've heard me say before, I mean, we're lucky where we're at as far as water being a natural resource, but many parts of our country in drought all the time. So there may be some communities reaching out. I just wanted to kind of clear the way for them to reach out should they want to inquire about.
Yes, we can schedule that because as we had planned after this equipment came online for us, we should have the entire community surveyed by the end of November. But we can certainly make a schedule for anybody that needed assistance.
That'd be great. Thank you, sir.
That's all I have, unless you have any questions.
On the Coughlin Apartments,
Yes.
there's been no activity, no new information, but do their permits, are there guidelines in there that they must have certain, date certain things in this progress? There's been very little activity for months now. I know I've gotten a couple questions, what's going on?
I was very surprised over the summer because we had a wonderful building season. You would have thought they would work then if they were going to work. But as far as the permits and expiring permits, I'm going to defer that to Sean. Maybe he'd have a better answer for that than I do.
Sure, and I can reach out to the developer to get a little bit more specifics on timeframes. Last time I had talked to them, it was several months ago, when we had some issues over there with,
So,
yeah, silt fences, erosion control, as well as weeds and things like that. I think shortly after that phone call, they were able to get a team out there, start some excavation, move some dirt, and get some things kind of at least tidied up. My assumption was they were going to just kind of roll and continue with some of that development. Seems like they've stalled a little bit again, so I will reach out to that contact that I have, find out if they can give us maybe a little bit of a time schedule. I believe, and I'll have to check, there are some provisions, but as long as they're turning and moving dirt, the permits don't necessarily expire. Some of them, I think, do have a 2-year window behind them. If work is not completed, they then must come back for a request for an extension, but there's certain provisions, part of that, whether it be a COA or whether it be a zoning permit, as far as the SWIPs or anything like that. I can also check on the expiration dates as well.
thank you.
Yep.
Okay, anything else for Jack? Hearing none, we're going to move to council's decision on zoning map amendment. Mr. Nyberg?
Can I ask that you would
Untable.
take this
Yeah.
from the table?
Mr. Nyberg, would you like this removed from the table?
Yes, please.
Okay. I'd like to make a motion that we remove ordinance 28-2024 from the table.
Second.
Larry's going to speak on my behalf this evening.
Okay, we got
We're
to
almost
do a vote real quick.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
Are all in favor?
Aye.
Yes.
Okay.
The acoustics are funny in here or something. I've asked Larry to speak on my behalf because he's been working with the city's
Yes, sir.
attorney. So, to get us to where we are.
Okay, thank you, sir.
My name is Larry Schaefer. I'm an attorney here in Johnstown. My address is 55 South Main Street. And I do represent DNJS Investments. John is one of the owners of that company, has been a client of mine for many years. I became involved in this after the application had been through its hearing at Planning and Zoning. And my understanding, I outlined in a memorandum. I was hoping that you all had seen that memorandum explaining what we're doing here, but if not, I'll be glad to take you through it. So what happened at that meeting is that there was consideration, there was input from the public, and the commission took a vote. Due to lack of full attendance, there were 4 people and there was a 2-2 vote. So it was not, it didn't carry with it a recommendation one way or the other. But it didn't move forward to council, and it was heard before council in June. And at both the zoning hearing and I think at the council meeting as well, I was not there, but I'm understanding that there were neighboring property owners with concerns about how it would work, and as is often the case, concern about the quality of the housing and spacing and so forth. What we have currently there is 2 parcels that DNJS has purchased from adjoining owners, and a very narrow strip that runs along Benedict Drive. It's called a reserve. It was platted into the subdivision from day one. And the idea would be, the request from DNJS at this point is to use those parcels to form 3 building parcels that would conform to SR2 zoning. And so that was the application, and that's the one present before you this evening. There was much constructive discussion. Sean participated in that, and the neighbors did it as well in a constructive way. And throughout those discussions, it was developed that one of the main concerns is, as I said, the quality of housing and spacing and so forth. So as a way to deal with that, the idea was put forth that what could be done is that if the owner would agree to subject those properties to the protective covenants, deed restrictions that all of the houses in Raccoon Creek Estates must comply to, that would be a way of assuring that there's going to be a quality product there and houses built in such a way that it would fit in with the neighborhood and allow these vacant properties to be developed and used within the boundaries of the village. So the proposal then is to create 3 building lots using the 2 that exist and portions of that strip. And the way that there can be assurance that if this zoning were to be approved, that those protective covenants would apply is that the plan would be that if this council were to grant this zoning, and of course the ordinance when adopted would go into effect 30 days after it's passed. At the end of that period, the owner would have 30 days to record deeds, applying these deed restrictions to the properties. The way it would be done is it's called a straw man transfer, and I'm the straw man. So it works that a deed to me as trustee, which recites that the transfer is being made subject to those protective covenants, would be recorded. Immediately, on top of that would be a second deed that would record the transfers with the new lots created, which also recites that they're continuing to be bound to the deed restrictions and protective covenants. And so it sort of seemed to make sense to do it that way. Your commitment, and the way we looked at this is Thad Boggs from Mr. Yazdani's office, at my request and his agreement, drafted an agreement. And again, I was hoping that that would be part of your packet, but the agreement says just what I'm stating as far as timing. And it says that if the owner does not record those, then the council would have the right to withdraw that zoning designation, and the owner then gives up the right to challenge that based on an appeal of an administrative decision, and the property would go back to its current status. If the deeds are recorded as stated, then the property would be rezoned and the restrictions would apply. So, sorry for the long-winded explanation there.
And we do have a memorandum from Thad Boggs with his recommendation and recapping what you
Yes,
spoke.
Mr. Nybarger's already signed that agreement, and the other signatory would be the village manager, or the city manager, excuse me. Okay. I'm here to answer any questions. John has the details of what would go on there, but.
Does anyone have any questions for Mr. Nybarger or Mr. Schaefer?
I do.
Go ahead, sir.
In summary, if I recall, it's going to be 3 or 4 homes on the lots.
3 homes.
3 homes, right? And the only thing.
And what might be confusing about that, the very first application would have been 4.
Right.
So it's been back down to 3, which that land was just equally prorated out to 3 equal lots.
The frontage would meet the Raccoon Creek Estates.
It will meet the village's, the city's SR2 zoning requirements. It will actually exceed the frontage requirements of SR1, which is what Raccoon Creek is.
So based on what we saw last time, it was the frontage will look the same. It's the back, they don't have the acreage like the rest of them, but from the front, it will look the
We're a little
same.
shy total square footage to make an SR1 home.
Right.
The setback meets the Raccoon
It
Creek's
does,
Estates
yes.
SR1 designation as well as the frontage, correct?
It does. Front yard, backyard, sides collectively.
Anyone else have questions? Okay. Thank you guys for your time. I'm going to open this up to the public. If you guys have any comments or questions on this item? If you come to the microphone, sir. You can give us your name.
Mike Margolius. I live over in Raccoon. Just a quick question, with those new homes, would the driveways be on the Benedict side or Buena Vista side? Because I remember we talked about the kind of precariousness of that slope coming down.
Buena Vista, but I've had engineering tell me exactly where the driveways have to be.
Okay.
To meet sightline requirements.
Okay, cool. That's it.
Thank you.
Well, hey, you said it'd come in from Buena Vista? You mean Benedict?
Benedict, I'm sorry.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. Did you catch my correction? Yep. Yeah, okay, thank you. Appreciate it.
Any other public with questions? Okay, hearing none. What is the will of council for ordinance 28-2024?
I want to make sure that because this is,
I thought you said we don't have to declare it emergency, correct?
you don't declare it emergency, but you would need to waive the second reading.
Okay. Do I need to make that a
So it's
motion?
effective in 30 days. Yes, please.
Okay. I'd like to make a motion that we waive the second reading so it's effective in 30 days.
I'll second.
Are all in favor of waiving the second reading?
Aye.
And opposed?
Abstain,
Abstain?
yes. I have a previous relationship with Larry and Mr. Schaefer, so I'm gonna abstain.
Everybody else, yes?
Yeah. Okay. What is the will of council with ordinance 28-2024?
Make a motion. I'm saying someone would need to make a motion.
Yes,
Don't vote.
yes.
I'm not
I'm
making.
waiting for him.
I wanted to restate your statement.
I'd like to make a motion to pass ordinance 28-2024 as written.
I'll second.
Jeff Barr,
Yes.
Bob Orsini,
Abstain.
Dave Seelan,
Yes.
Ryan Green.
Yes.
Tiffany Hollis.
Yes.
Mayor Barnard.
Yes.
Wes Cobalt.
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Nyberger, thank you for your patience with this. I think this is a great example of the community working together to come up with solutions, so thank you.
You're welcome.
The next is ordinance 29-2024, an ordinance to accept the zoning map amendment. So this is the old Coghlan dealership that was zoned many different ways. Residential was one of them, and this is changing that. So Sean, do you want to give any more explanation on this?
Yeah, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, this is the second reading for this, Teresa, or is this the first?
There was a public hearing last meeting.
Okay. So this one could track much like the previous ordinance did, or we could have two readings on it. But to summarize, this was an initiation done through zoning and council because of the cleanup necessary for that particular area. I want to emphasize some things, and I think I emphasized it the first go-around, and that is rezoning everything is not always best-case scenario. Doing it in a block, or sometimes you have a split zoning situation on a singular parcel. Sometimes that's intentional and that's best practice. However, with this particular piece, it literally split the building. So that's why there was a strong recommendation from staff to correct that to include the entire parcel. But I do want to point out, just from a precedent-setting situation, that it should not be looked at where if you have split zoning on a parcel, that should immediately dictate the entire parcel be rezoned. This is not the case with this. The building is situated in split zoning, which I think is the emphasis that I want to apply here. This you'll probably see in larger parcels where the front half is one zoning and the back half is something else. So just want to be clear that we're not setting a bad case precedent. But other than that, recommendations from the staff are to approve.
Do council members have any questions on this?
Do we know how many businesses are in there now? I mean, it seems like the signs have changed quite a bit of what used to be there is not. And I know my neighbor's driving school now is in there. I'm just curious how many's in that.
That's a great question. So let me walk you through the procedural of how those things go. That has been in somewhat of a revolving door recently. I think there was some consistency there for a while. So if a business moves out and a new business wants to move in, they have to or should, and if they don't, we gently go up and notify them that we need to have a letter, I'm sorry, not a letter, but a certificate of compliance as well as a zoning permit. The certificate of compliance and the zoning permit simply being given to us establish what type of business is going to be in there, and then we check to make sure it's consistent with the allowable uses in that particular district, and then we walk through a parking exercise. Some businesses need additional parking through our parking regulations and standards. Some businesses need less. So if you start to combine multiple businesses, that impacts the additional parking that's there. So all those things have to be applied. And the long short of it is, yes, whenever someone moves out, there is a procedure that should be followed. Sometimes people aren't aware of it. We gently go up. We say, hey, we need some paperwork down at the city. Then typically there's a sign request, not always, but typically a sign request would follow for their particular business. So right now, I believe there are some vacancies. I would have to check further with our zoning inspector to see how many vacancies. We're not really notified when the business moves out, only when a new business moves in.
Does anyone else have any questions? Okay. Open it to the public. Does any public have any questions or comments on ordinance 29-2024? Ordinance to accept the zoning map amendment to the old Coghlan dealership. Okay, hearing none. What is the will of council for this ordinance?
Can I ask that you waive the second reading again
Yes.
for this one?
We'll make a motion that we waive the second reading.
I'll second.
Thank you. Are all in favor of waiving the second reading?
Aye. Aye.
No one's opposed?
Okay.
Thank you.
Motion to pass ordinance 29-2024 as written.
I'll second.
Jeff Park,
Yes.
Bob Orsini,
Yes.
Dave Seelan,
Yes.
Ryan Green,
Yes.
Tiffany Hollis.
Yes.
Mayor Barnard.
Yes.
Wes Cobble.
Yes.
Okay. Moving on to Resolution 2024-45, a resolution authorizing the city manager enter into a contract with the Licking County Board of Commissioners for the reimbursement of legal counsel for indigent defendants for the city of Johnstown, Licking County, Ohio. So this is a resolution that we get every year from the county, based on fees of what we're going to get paid or they'll get paid for anyone who is an indigent and cannot afford legal fees. Is that correct, Ms. Monroe?
Correct.
Okay.
What's our contribution?
You wanna-
I had a question, but I don't want to be out of turn.
No, go ahead.
What's our financial obligation to this? Unless I'm missing it in the resolution, I don't see it. Is it on a per item or is it a lump sum?
You've never had to use it.
Okay, that answers my.
Well, I'll try to give you some background. Teresa's done this every year for the last 10 so years. This is one of those situations where you don't really get a choice. County basically tells you have to do it. By law, you can't really refuse it. But they do offer you the ability to vote on it. How kind. Now, if you do decide to vote no, then I'm sure there's repercussions and they'll force you to do it anyhow. So this is really just a mechanism of us checking the box. Is that fairly accurate?
Yeah.
Okay, so
So we only pay if it's applicable?
Yes.
Okay.
I don't believe we've.
I think we had one. Didn't we have one just recently? Thought you told me that we did.
Legal?
No.
No.
I'm thinking of indigent.
You're thinking of the.
But this is another
cremation.
piece that would.
I was gonna
also-
say, I thought we had a
This is-
burial.
We did have a
Yeah.
burial.
We did have a burial.
Cremation.
I'd like to
yeah.
make
There's
a
two
motion to,
different- Yeah.
I'd like to make a motion to pass resolution 2024-45 as written.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. That concludes our public hearings of legislation. There's no new legislation. I have one item for other business. We have worked on the roadway naming resolution. That should be coming to council for next meeting. If anyone would like to see or make input on that, let me know. Trying to create something from scratch on that one, so. Yeah, we'd like to take a look at that. Okay.
Maybe
safety and
a
service.
pretty high bar.
Maybe safety and service next time.
Is there a dollar threshold amount that must be?
Based on other cities, the research from other cities, it's like $200, $250 for the signs. It's basically what the person who wants to name a street is paying for, so.
Mr. Mayor.
My only concern would be I don't want every street named because someone's got $250.
Well, no, it has to be for, there's criteria,
Okay.
and that's part of it. So it's coming up with the criteria of what makes it.
Mr. Mayor, to elaborate, what was requested was putting a policy in place. So when checking with Teresa, and she correct me if I'm wrong, and we can get with legal, some of these minor policies don't necessarily have to have a resolution. Is that accurate? From a policy, internalized?
Yeah.
Okay. So if you want to do a resolution accepting this policy that's been drafted, you can. However, some of these, like I said, we've been given some instruction that it doesn't have to be. However, we can give it to you for your obvious read and review of it. If you did want to do it in a committee, my suggestion would be Rules Committee, since it's a policy. It's not really related to, we were scratching our heads the other day trying to figure out, it's not zoning, it's not finance, it's not safety and service, those are streets and plows and things like that. So if there was a committee, and I'll take suggestions for this, or you can just all review it and give me feedback.
Yeah,
Different council.
Rules hasn't met in some time.
We should probably meet anyway.
Do you want to, I'm stepping out, do you want to add a rules committee meeting to the next council meeting? I mean, this should be a 10 to 15-minute organization, maybe address this policy quickly, but then plan for the next rules committee meeting.
So do the finance committee and leave a little bit of time
Yeah.
for,
Yeah, because we're gonna do some work session with the finance committee, so it's not gonna be quite as
Right,
teethy,
okay.
toothy.
yes.
Okay. You good with that, Ryan?
Yeah, we can talk about council rules too.
Okay.
Let's plan on making a plan.
Yeah.
And then we'll circle back and have another meeting, because you can go 4 hours if you know.
Yeah.
Okay. Other business, does this side of the room have anything? Mr. Bartlett? Mr.
Mr. Cole. Ms. Hollis?
I just want to say that Trick or Treat was really awesome this year.
Yes, it was
We
great to
had-
move it. I agree.
We had, on Main Street, Luke hands out candy, and he's very specific on handing out one piece of candy to each kid, and we handed out over 625 pieces of candy, so it was a lot.
I was told that the Gahanna Facebook group was bashing their mayor for not being like our city and changing it, that they were jealous of Johnstown.
Well, hey, we got something right.
We got something right, so
Maybe.
we did well.
Yeah, mentioning the 625 pieces, we probably should send out a notice before for anyone that moved. The first year I moved to town, I was passing out granola bars and fruit roll-ups because I ran.
Whatever you had in the pantry.
Immediately I ran out. I had no idea what was coming.
Yeah.
So we should maybe give them a heads up.
One of the ideas,
that's true.
when we set dates for next year, is set up an alternative date in case of bad weather.
I
That way
think,
people,
yeah, you
That
can
way
plan
people can
ahead.
kind of
Yeah,
plan around it.
Absolutely.
so people know there's 2 dates if there's bad weather, so.
Yeah.
Okay. Mr. Green?
Zip.
Steven?
Oh,
No.
sorry, Economic Development Committee meeting.
yeah.
We need to set a date for that.
I'll email you, Teresa, and with an agenda for that meeting after I get with Wes and Ray to see what they have available, and then I'll email you what dates we have.
Mr. Stainer?
Oh, man, you're gonna be sorry
Wait,
you
we
asked.
got Dave.
No, I'm good.
Oh, you're good.
Okay, sorry.
Good.
I-
You good? Okay.
good.
All right. I will try to roll through some of these rather quickly, but some of these are time sensitive, and I do want to give you a brief update. So Brightspeed, just as an update, we had discussion with them about the ability to put overhead lines versus underground. You all have some background on that. I want to give you the short and the skinny of how it has shook out, and if you are agreeable, give me the nod. We're good to move forward. Again, I'll probably take it on a, is there any opposition rather than a vote? But we did ask them to go back and reevaluate some areas that they could have underground. They have done so, and with that, I will share my screen. And while I'm talking, the area that I emphasized over and over and over to them was the downtown area. I will work through the other areas quickly. The red highlighted area that was originally designed as aerial fiber will now be changed to buried fiber. So any area where you see as red is now going to be underground. They looked at the cost associated with it. These were areas that they felt that they could have some movement without incurring an excessive cost, which would make the project prohibitive. So with that said, they have done this area over here, a little bit here, a little bit here. Now the downtown, I'm going to scroll to that one. I think that's the one that's near and dear to everyone's heart. These are just ones that we've just reviewed. Okay. So in the downtown, what I communicated to them, they wanted to do an overlash on the copper that existed there. My concern was once that overlash is in place, likelihood of that fiber ever coming down was probably going to be minimal. We did not want to add any additional communication lines to our downtown poles. It is our hope to some point remove the downtown poles. And at this point, the only thing really on the downtown poles, except for maybe 2 or 3 electrical line drops, are essentially the communication lines. Now, those are mostly copper and probably some other utilities that have since overlashed and put themselves in place. So I said our ideal is to obviously not add to them. Is it possible to go back behind those Main Street corridors on 37 and do some underground and as well as overhead in the back so that it's not visibly seeable in the front? So what they came up with was they do have some underground conduit that they're going to utilize, and then they're going to use obviously in the back area, and then they will access these businesses from the back rather than having any additional fiber added to the poles in the front. So that will hopefully beautify downtown. Now, that doesn't mean they're taking their copper off, but at some point the copper that's there will probably be extinct at some point because of the deficiencies that exist. That's the old telephone lines. Once they get enough customers on the fiber and those lines are no longer utilized, they have a good commitment that they feel they don't want to have those lines in the air anymore. They would take those down. Now, how fast that transpires, it may be 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, but the point is we're moving forward with not allowing anything else to be there. So that was a pretty good win. I felt like it achieved all of the goals that you set forth that we were looking for in a reasonable way that I think is financially feasible for them. They reiterated, this is going to add some additional costs. And I said, yeah, but it's going to save us from just sitting around and fighting about it forever. So they conceded on some things. So if you all are okay with this, great. If anybody is opposed to me moving forward and allowing Jack to issue right-of-way permits, please speak now or forever hold your peace. Good? All right, moving on to the next item.
Wait.
Oh, sorry.
We got one public comment, possibly more.
That's up to the mayor. I don't know if they want.
Are you aware of the conduit that's in the ground now?
Mr., no one can hear you at home if you don't. You know, I can bring it to you. Well, maybe not.
I was going to tell Sean that Presbyterian Church has got a.
That's it. That's all you got. You got the one.
I'll be up there. Are you aware of the conduit there in front of the Presbyterian Church that runs down to the new service station?
I am not. I don't have a inventory of their particular infrastructure. All I know is the request was made and they said that they could accommodate. How they do it is going to be more on them, so.
It was put in there when we done the streets
Okay,
20 years ago.
good.
It's right there by the Presbyterian Church, and it goes up just past the service station on the same side.
Okay, good.
Been used.
Sounds like it may be used. Possibility.
Now, is Brightspeed taking over the existing communication buildings there? Is my orientation right?
I thought they renamed it. I think they just, it's.
Yeah, so
It's a different
Brightspeed is
company.
now, well, I'm sorry, CenturyLink is now Brightspeed.
Okay.
You got it.
That's what, so it is the same,
Yes.
same
Same
office, yeah.
Okay, so other items, some simple ones, population. We went through this exercise with Morpsey, their estimation, and we probably checked it against ours. Population increase from our 2020 census, we're probably at 5,800 at this point. Also had a JYA meeting last week and a half ago on a Sunday. My days seem to run together anymore, but floated some ideas out to them that you're aware of, and hoping to get some feedback from them. Let's see, kickoff meeting for the design review regulations. That is transpiring, and I can pass out some physical copies as well as roll through. You all had voted on passing legislation to approve this. I'll pass these down if anybody wants. I did not print off for everyone. I know some people like the digital format, so I can send this digitally. But there will be a kickoff meeting. I think we just got that scheduled today with the coordinated committee that's going to be helping with that. But the big piece is the schedule. So these are the scheduled timelines that have been laid out, November 24th, December. We're hoping to have this adoption by April 25th. So I can email this particular deck of slides out to you all so you can have a better understanding of it. But just wanted to update you, that legislation was passed. We have executed the contract, and they will be working through that starting here in December and November, and then probably hopefully finalizing that in April. So more to come, and we'll keep you up to date as the documents start to lay out. TID meeting, we are working through the roadways and projects that are in the area. We had a rather extensive meeting last week, and it's not necessarily a TID meeting where everybody typically goes and attends. This was a very specific for our specific area, and they're trying to coordinate. They've got about 5 or 6 different engineers and trying to get the 5 or 6 different engineers to talk to each other. So the one that's doing the roundabout is going to be talking to the person that's doing the roadway. So all of those we're continuing to work through to try to give our input. Some of those are in the annexed areas and some of them are not. Lobbyist activity. So we have entered into an agreement with the lobbyist for the JAG initiative, and the lobbyist has came up with some recommendations. We have looked at those recommendations, one of those being branding, and so a new name has been given to JAG. So if you liked JAG, I'm sorry to let you know that it will be replaced. The Municipal Utility Coalition of Licking County will be the new name. We'll be doing a press release tomorrow and emailing the respective parties that are interested in all things water and sewer related. So EPA and Governor's Office and all the other associated ones will be getting that. So working on a mission statement, I believe that's almost fully baked. So we'll be having a press release and then, let's see, mission statement and a website will be up and running as well. So all those things are happening. Just wanted to give you an update there. And I believe Jack had an operators meeting where there was a plant tour, and the plant tour was given. However, no objections there. I think it's fine. I think Jack is going to Southwest Licking's plant to do a visitation there. And then they also had a Teams meeting with Granville, Jack, and CJ, just to get to know each other. Where we are at now is, obviously, last meeting it was talked about sending off this email to Jim as the proposal to probably refine the scope of what could be talked about with these particular individuals, giving them some questions to kind of chew on, and then giving us feedback. With your permission, I would like to send that over to Jim so that he can add a question to it, remove questions, and also float the proposal out there that they can continue to operate in their space, but with some guide rails associated with those conversations. So, like I said, last meeting it was discussed, but I do not want to send that email until I have some green light from council that that is the appropriate action that you would like me to move forward on.
Sounds like constructive collaboration to me.
I agree. I think it's okay to sign.
Okay. I'll go ahead and send that to Jim, and I'll keep you up to date on the feedback that we receive from him. I would anticipate there'll be a follow-up meeting with you all with some of those questions so that you guys can just sit down and dive right in. So, sounds great. All right. That is all I had, and that is probably the longest list, but we've had a lot of activity. We had an extra Tuesday off, so wanted to fill in some blanks. I will put these in the manager's report as well, but some of these needed some action items tonight in order to keep the ball moving forward, and I appreciate it.
Okay. Anybody else, any other
One
business?
question I have on the design guidelines, definitely happy to see this moving forward. We've been working towards this. The advisory committee, I know we have a resolution that we passed, 2024-16 on April 16th, where we outlined the design review board as our committee to go forward on that. We had talked about having too large of a committee and potentially slowing the project down, which I know we're concerned with. So
I'll defer
check on that.
I'll defer to Teresa. I think when we were internalizing this week to set up the meeting, maybe we were incorrect. From our recollection, council had given direction to have the design review board be the we'll call it the official committee, but direction from you all was to include the others that had submitted an interest in participating and allowing them to come to all of the meetings to participate and give feedback as well. So with that said, the official DRB committee would be the design review board, but allowing the others to participate in the entire process. If that is not what you all had in mind, then we will correct that and remove them from the list for the meeting. But I'll let Teresa fill in. We went from the minutes, I think.
Yeah, I emailed MKSK directly after the meeting where you guys asked that they be involved and gave him all their contacts. So the design review board are the appointed steering committee.
Right.
But council's direction to.
Yeah, I mean, I'm all for the
Yeah,
public
to
comment, and they can hang out in the gallery, ex officio capacity, you know, the above like that. But as far as the voting committee to send us a recommendation, we had talked about
Yeah,
having
but
just design
I think
review
it-
board.
I think that's what Teresa, yeah. it's
Yeah, I
design review.
don't, they're not part of the official.
Okay.
Like if they were.
I just want to
vote on
make sure we're
something, I
moving quick on this and
don't
going
think they'll be
from,
voting,
yeah, just going from
Just to be
5
involved in
members
the
to
process.
5 members to 10 or 15 or however many members we have on that. It's gonna,
There's 5
it's
on the
gonna,
design review board and
Yeah.
5 applicants that will be involved.
It's a
Okay.
total of 10.
yeah, just going from 5 to 10, you guys know how that goes. It just slows things down. So, but I like the public comment. I'm fine with that.
Anything else? Okay, hearing nothing, make a motion, we adjourn at 7:25. What?
Oh, don't second into that.
Oh, what
If
am I-
council desires, this is hot off an email today. I hesitate to bring it up because it's been mentioned earlier in this evening's discussions, but if you desire, there is potential need to go into executive session. It should be very brief for the potential sale or purchase of property. Now, obviously, this was not given to us in an ample time for us to put it in the agenda, but if you desire, we can move to executive session. I can share the information with you. Like I said, should not take more than a total of 3 minutes, let you process it, and then you can adjourn. However, if you don't feel comfortable moving to executive session, that is your right as well.
Do you need a motion for the executive session?
We need a motion to amend the agenda, and then we need a motion to move into.
Waive the rules.
I would just waive the rules, yeah. Waive the council rule of 24-hour notice.
We'd have to, well, then we could waive the agenda, requirement to approve the agenda at the same time, right?
Sure.
So we waive all council rules? I don't know how that works.
Just the 24-hour notice one.
I think Sean can call that without that waiver. I wrote that in.
Did you? Oh.
That's happened.
Well, kudos to you. If that is the case, and you can confirm, I will call it, but it's your desire to go into it. You all have to vote, I don't get to vote. So I'll make the uncomfortable ask and request for an executive session to enter into for the discussion of purchase or sale of real estate with members of council and myself.
That's it? Just you, Sean?
Yes,
I'll make a motion.
it's not that complicated.
Move into executive session, including all members of council and the city manager.
Second.
Called, second.
All right. Tom Barnard,
No.
Wes Coble,
Yes.
Jeff Barr,
Yes.
Bob Orsini,
Yes.
Dave Seelan,
Yes.
Ryan Green,
No.
Tiffany Hollis.
No.
I'm gonna check something.
One of the executive sessions has to be
Unanimous,
larger
which one is
than,
it?
it's not unanimous, it has to be a supermajority.
Supermajority.
You're going to test my memory.
I don't, and I don't have my paper.
I believe it's economic development related, but we need to check. You want to run over and grab it real quick? Okay. A brief recess.
Make a motion for 5-minute recess?
Just call it.
I'll take a 5-minute recess.
There you go.
And staff can, the rest of the staff can go home.
Yes, sure.
regardless. Okay.
might be
Okay.
business.
Okay, we're returning from recess. Based on the motion, we are moving to executive session with no business to follow.
No, maybe. Don't know.
With
I would say you can say no business.
no business to follow. Thank you.
All right, and you already voted, we're good.
Yep.